with Sonia Watson and Ian Wyatt. This is BBC Essex.
Good morning. There's been shock in America after pipe bombs were sent to 8 high-profile people, including former President Barack Obama and most recently the actor Robert De Niro. All have been vocal critics of current President Donald Trump. Well, President Trump has been talking about the incidents in an effort to bring the country together.
Those engaged in the political arena must stop treating political opponents as being morally defective. Have to do that. The language of moral condemnation and destructive routine, these are arguments and disagreements that have to stop. No one should carelessly compare political opponents to historical villains, which is done often, it's done all the time. Got to stop. We should not mob people in public spaces or destroy public property. There is one way to settle our disagreements. It's called peacefully at the ballot box. That's what we want. As part of a larger national effort to bridge our divides and bring people together, the media also has a responsibility to set a civil tone and to stop the endless hostility and constant negative and oftentimes false attacks and stories. Have to do it.
There you go, President Trump being presidential, although he still managed to have a pop at the media at the end of that clip there. Do you blame him for the divisive nature of politics? 0800 111 40 41. It's spread here as well, and we spoke about it on this programme earlier in the week with unnamed quotes from Tory MPs suggesting Prime Minister Theresa May should bring her own noose to a meeting of their party earlier this week. What do you make of the current state of our politics and the tone of some of the views being expressed at the moment? Does it worry you about the kind of language that's being used? Erin Summers Norman is an American who now lives in Colchester, and we can also speak to James Cottis about this. James is a Conservative Parish councillor in Rochford and campaigned for the Republicans back in 2016. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Morning. Erin, let's start with you. What do you make of what's happening and some of the language being used at the moment over in the States?
I'm absolutely horrified by it. I mean, the very words that Trump uses really incriminate himself. He's aware of the criticism that is being given to how he's behaved. He doesn't want us to be critically moral because he has no moral. So, of course, he doesn't want us to judge other people and other candidates by their morals because he has none. And even he himself referenced comparing current political figures to historical villains. He's obviously referring to the many comparisons that are often made between he and Adolf Hitler. And I mean, he's aware of this. There's a reason that people are feeling this way. He's brought up so much racial division. I mean, he's incited so much hatred against the press, and even his son has liked tweets which are conspiracy theories saying that the Democrats have pipe bombed themselves.
Let's bring in James Cottis just at that moment. James, according to Erin, he knows what he's doing and he's leading to the division.
Well, I think Donald Trump definitely knows what he's doing because as a president he's created more jobs, unemployment is down, the economy is up.
What about the division?
Well, he obviously is a pantomime, he's obviously appealing to his base of the hardcore Americans within the middle states who like to have a bit of have a go at each other. With regards to the incidents over the last 2 days, it's clearly a lone person who's probably not even politically aware of any particular party think that's down to some of the radical people they've got in that country.
What do you make to his response to that and the comments at the end of the clip that we just heard there, specifically at the media saying about how they're responsible for some of this fake news and this purposefully false reporting that's just being dismissed all the time as fake news? It seems no one can criticise him.
No, what you've got to remember is there are two sides of Donald Trump. There's the presidential side and then there's a campaigning side. And the clip we just heard was from a rally that same night where he was appealing to his core base. Now, he says two different things. He'll say one thing to the media on a political level, and another thing to his supporters at a rally. So, he obviously goes on about the media and how he hates the media and how the media hates him, but they clearly enjoy that because otherwise they would be giving him airtime.
Erin, I just to bring you in there. Yeah, do you agree with that?
I think that's one of the most disingenuous statements I've ever heard. I think that just because his immediate fan base enjoy inciting hatred does not justify it as presidential behavior. And in the past, it is the president who sets the tone for civility, not the press. And there were plenty of people who were, and I'm going to make this comparison, I'm a Jewish person as well, so I can. There were plenty of people who were cheering at Nazi rallies. Just because his core base is cheering does not justify the message he is sending.
But what about his message on the media? Has he not got a point there that some of the media, are very quick to criticise and take a pop at people like him, and should they not be called out at times?
It is the media's job to analyse and criticise the government. That is what the media exists for, so that the public can be informed rationally of the facts. That is the media's job. He doesn't like when the media reports facts because facts are not usually very flattering for him. Okay, he prefers rhetoric, and that's what Fox News does. They do rhetoric. Other news agents, the news agents usually that he's condemning, they focus on facts. That's very inconvenient for him because he does not want the American people to be informed.
James, let's bring it back to you. I mean, we've seen some of this divisive politics coming in over in this country as well, haven't we? We mentioned some of the language reported comments regarding Theresa May bringing her own noose to the meeting and the knives in the back, mentioning reporters as enemies in terms of Tommy Robinson earlier this week, wasn't he, describing journalists as enemies? How do you feel about the fact that this sort of language and rhetoric is now quite apparent in the UK?
Well, I think it's absolutely appalling, especially with the comments with Theresa May. Unfortunately, it happens in local government as well. And you've got to remember that you get a lot of people involved in politics who are there not because they want to help the communities, but because they've got nothing else to do in their lives. And sometimes they're actually unemployable and can't get a job anywhere else, so they stand for office and sometimes win, and they then decide to use their Twitter pages, their Facebook pages, to send out garbage, which they're quite happy to do. But back to Donald Trump, he clearly is a friend of the Jewish people, no doubt about it. So I think comparing his rallies to what might seem like Nazi rallies is quite shocking.
Time is beaten us, I'm afraid. I think Erin's description there was more to do with the fact that applause can mean certain things. Thank you, both of you. Interesting. That's Erin Summers Norman, an American living in Colchester. James Cottis, a Conservative Parish councillor in Rochford, who campaigned for the Republic. Thoughts 0800 111 40 41. It's nearly 17 minutes past 7.
Travel news from BBC Essex.